Hey Raiders, today we have a special guest, Miss Jackson, our attendance specialist here at our school and administrator over attendance. And I want to take some time to talk to you about the importance of your attendance in regards to receiving your credit. Remember, in high school there are two things that you have to do in order to receive credit. One, you have to make a 70 or above, and two, you have to maintain a credit standing that meets the Texas Education Agency requirements. Those requirements are pretty simple. You have to be in class 90% of the time. For us, I believe that's no more than
5 days.
5 days. So let me ask you a couple questions. I just want to have our expert here go over a couple things. How do I find out if I want to make sure I know how many absences I do? What do I need to do to make sure I check our absences?
I would check Focus. Focus is a great tool, and you can check to see what your attendance is for all your classes. It'll give you a grand total for the entire semester, but you can literally go through and see each class. If you've got 5 absences in one class, 7 absences in another, 3 absences depending on if we had like early dismissals. So you know that you may only have to do credit recovery for one class if you're over the 5 and not all of your classes, or a couple of classes but not all your classes.
So a couple of questions.
Sure.
Attendance recovery, is that for just excused or unexcused, or does it matter regarding the absences?
It's for everything. The state of Texas does not differentiate between excused and unexcused absences. So if you have 3 excused and 2 unexcused, that's still 5 absences. Now there are a few specific ones that they do excuse. Religious holidays are one of them. If you have a diagnosed medical issue where you got a med code, there's a few other ones. But for the most part, you will have to do attendance recovery if you're above 5, whether it's excused or unexcused.
So that's a really important thing that I want people to realize, because that's a change that happened a couple years ago, is making sure that, yes, we want your absences to be excused, of course, and we want to take those things into consideration. But once you go over that 90% threshold, you still have to make up those days. So that's important for everyone to understand, and as we move forward, keep that in mind when you're checking your attendance, because sometimes people get that confused and then it becomes an issue.
Absolutely.
Can anyone do attendance recovery?
No, attendance recovery is only for students who have passed the class. Now there is a small difference. If you have a teacher that is willing to do attendance recovery with you during the semester, which is their choice, then you can do attendance recovery during the semester directly with that teacher. But if you're coming to attendance recovery in January for this semester, you have to have passed the class.
And I think it's important for you guys to know, the relationships you build with teachers is so important. I've talked about that a lot, being kind and making sure you're working well with your teachers. I think, again, make sure you know where you're at with your attendance, and then make sure you're talking to your teachers. We are treating you more like adults and expecting you to take some ownership over your education. So make sure you're invested, show your teachers you're invested. Most of our teachers are going to work with you for opportunities for you to gain success, but you're going to have to make sure that you are also participating in that process. What if I was absent a bunch because I was really sick or my family had an emergency? Was that going to, can I get those excused?
It depends. So if you have more than 10 absences, you can do what's called an attendance petition. And you can go to our school website. On the right-hand side, there's some buttons, and one of them says attendance petition. And you can submit a petition for more than 10 days. I highly encourage you then, if you are very sick, to turn in all your doctor's notes, especially for COVID and things like that, but any illness, so that when the committee meets, they can see that you weren't just skipping a class, but you had medical reasons, and then we as a committee can decide to then give you back your attendance because of those reasons.
And I think one change too this year is, with COVID and everything going on, we do take those things into consideration, but we still may have you make up some of the attendance recovery. We may excuse a portion of it and say, but you still need to do these couple of hours to make up for it. So again, we're willing to work with you, but you do need to complete the forms if you go over 10 absences. And then the committee will decide, as well as the administrative team here, what your attendance recovery plan will look like. Again, if you're missing a lot of time, it's going to be really hard for you to pass your classes. So again, we want you in class on time each and every day. One thing I want to point out is, the rule also applies to the 90 minutes. Really, I give you a couple extra minutes to be in class each day and still count you tardy. But we need you in class 90% of the class time. If the class is 90 minutes long, that means you're really supposed to be in there for approximately 81 minutes, right? 90% of 90 is 81. I give you a couple more minutes to make sure you're there if something happens. But if you're coming in class 35 minutes late, 20 minutes late, 50 minutes late, you're going to be counted absent. So again, we want you in class on time and ready to learn. What happens if, I pass the class and I never get around to attendance recovery, or I don't do the attendance recovery in the time that needs to happen?
Then you will lose credit in that class, and your counselor will find, if it's a class you need for graduation, then your counselor will figure out a way to either put you back in the class or have you do the web-based learning, but you will lose credit for that class if you don't do attendance recovery.
And unfortunately, you and I have been doing this long enough that we've had some really sad stories, and people, basically beg both of us, what can I do? What can I do? And unfortunately, we're held by the state law of Texas, and so we really can't do anything. And unfortunately, some people have not been able to graduate.
Absolutely.
Both the last 2 years, and I hate that. I want everyone to graduate. I know you do as well.
Yes, we want you all to graduate.
But we also want to make sure that we do it the right way. So parents and students, make sure you take the time to understand that we're held to the laws of the state of Texas, and we're not going to break those, even if you're a really good kid going through attendance. So who do I talk to if I have questions or I need some more clarification about this? Attendance would be you.
Yep.
If I lose my credits, I need to make sure I'm with my counselors.
Correct.
And
Yes.
make sure I'm scheduled into the right classes. Can always come and talk to me if you're just having some technical difficulties or you're unsure. Make sure you continue to bring doctor's notes and things like that, because it is important to at least have excused absences if you do end up filing a petition, so that we can, make an informed decision. So I don't want to make it seem like doctor's notes and things don't matter. They do, but you do want to stay below that 90%.
Yeah, that communication, last year we had a student whose house burned down. And so it wasn't a medical issue, but it was an issue that they could not handle, that was not their fault.
Right.
And so they communicated with us, they let us know what was going on. And so we were able to then, because we had that documentation and we knew what was going on, be able to help them with attendance. So it's not just medical. If you have a major family issue, communicate with us. Let us know what's going on. Give us your documentation, because we want to help you, but we can't if we have no documentation to back up what's going on.
Absolutely. And I think you said it. We want to help, but we can only do with what we're provided. So you have to make sure you provide us with the documentation so that we can support you and walk you through what's going to be the best plan for you getting credit. Again, our job is about trying to get you credit, not take it away, but we do need your support. I think the other big thing is, as we start to plan, if I already I've had some absences this fall, when am I going to be able to do the attendance recovery for the absences I've had right now this fall semester?
The dates that Mr. Engel and I have talked about so far are in January. So it'll be the second, third, fourth Saturday in January, and then the first Saturday in February. And then that's it, because it has to be done within the first 6 weeks. And the 6 weeks ends after that first week in February. So it would be very quick when we come back.
Yeah, so again, it is going to be Saturday school classes in January and the first weekend in February. It's really important that you make those Saturdays. I want to give people a chance to go ahead and plan for those. And the other thing, and the reason we're talking about it early in, end of October, but still early before November and December, is, try to maintain not getting over 4. If you can do all you can and to not miss days, you don't have to give up those precious Saturdays, because we want everyone to enjoy their weekends, but again, we want to make sure that we're doing it the right way. So again, Ms. Jackson, thank you so much. Guys, we have a great resource here in Ms. Jackson, having an attendance administrator on site who's on top of things. Parents, we'll make sure we include her email here, so if you do have an attendance question, you can reach out and ask. Again, we're here to support you all. Please, please, please make sure you're checking Focus to look at where you are attendance-wise. And until next time, again, thank you, Ms. Jackson. Go Raiders.